Hello, and welcome to this presentation. We discuss best practices for configuring virtual machines with Oracle Enterprise Manager Cloud Control. The best practices discussed here apply to virtual machine configuration. A virtual machine is also called a VM and referred to as a server within Oracle Enterprise Manager. By following these recommendations, you or a self-service user can make modifications to the number of CPUs and amount of memory consumed without having to stop the VM. This supports uninterrupted service as the changes are made on the run. First, consider the purpose of the VM. If you anticipate a growing demand over time, you can start by setting the maximum CPU and maximum memory values much higher than the values needed at first. As demand for the application or applications on the VM grows, the number of CPUs and amount of memory can be increased incrementally. By operating in this way, charges accrued will be in line with resources consumed to meet the current demand over time. The primary setting is the guest domain type, which should be set to Xen HVM with PV drivers or paravirtualized drivers. This setting is also known as PV-HVM. Set the maximum values well above the allocated values. Running VMs are charged by currently consumed CPU and memory values and not the maximums. Keep in mind that you must stop the VM or server to increase either of the maximum values or to change the domain type if the VM is currently other than PV-HVM. Last, you must collaborate with your self-service users. Users have no visibility into the domain type setting, so when a user deploys new VMs, you should check to ensure the domain type is right, and you can check and adjust the maximum CPU and memory values accordingly. If you make changes to the VM or server, be sure to communicate this with the user who deployed it. You can also remind users that with adequate CPU and memory maximum values, they can increase those values without having to stop the VM. To accomplish the VM review and make changes, you use the Edit VM feature. Let's take a look now with this demonstration. I'm logged in as a self-service administrator, and the display shows my default login page. Navigate to the zone where the VM resides by clicking the tree icon in the upper left corner of the screen. Click on the Sales Marketing zone, and the zone display appears. Here, navigate through the VM Zone menu next to the tree icon. Continue through the Members option, then click Show All. The target list appears, and if necessary, use the Expand All option under the View menu to display all the servers currently deployed. From the list, click the name of the server or VM you want to edit. Here I click on OL7U6S Server MC. Note that the server was stopped, as you can see by the red down arrow next to the name at the top left corner of the screen. Anytime you want to change maximum CPU or memory values or the guest domain type, you must stop the VM first. Click on the Guest VM menu, navigate through the Target Setup option, and click on Edit Guest VM. The Guest VM details appear with the Hardware Configuration tab enabled. In the Hardware Configuration interface, we can increase the max memory and max virtual CPUs values. Here, we enter 16384 for about 16 gigabytes of memory maximum. And we change the max virtual CPUs value to 8. Click on the Other Configuration tab. When the display appears, check the Advanced section on the right side of the screen. Here, make sure the domain type is set to Xen HVM PV drivers. After making the max memory and CPU and domain type changes, click OK. A confirmation message appears. Click on Job Details. The Job Activity page appears. Here, set the auto refresh value to 15 seconds in the upper right corner of the display, then monitor the status, which is currently 1 running. In a couple refresh cycles, the status value changes to 1 succeeded. Click the target name to return to the Guest VM Details page. You can now restart the VM. Click the Guest VM menu, navigate through Control, and click Start. A confirmation page appears. Here, click Start. Now, click on Job Details. Note the auto refresh time is still at 15 seconds, so monitor the status, which appears with the value 1 running. After a few refresh cycles, the status changes to 1 succeeded. Click on the target name to return to the Guest VM Details page. Note that the VM is running as indicated by the green up arrow at the upper left corner of the page. You have just seen how to set up a VM or server so that the memory and/or CPU count can later be increased by the self-service user without having to stop it. This ends the presentation. Thank you for watching.